Good morning. Good morning. And happy last day of 2024.
Happy New Year. Only 13 hours and 59 minutes in the East Coast left to go in 2024.
Yes. Unless, obviously, if you are listening in Asia or watching in Asia or like the Southern Hemisphere, if you're in Australia, it's already, you're in the future. You are living.
Isn't it Vanuatu? I think is the first populated place in the world. Or Tuvalu,
so.
one of those two. I think it's Vanuatu.
I think so. But definitely like New Zealand and Australia, and then they're
already there. Yeah.
They're in the New Year. Singapore too?
No, wait, that's not true.
No.
Is that true? No, that's not true. They're not 14 hours ahead. They're not.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all.
Well, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, we're gonna say Happy New Year to you already. You're living in the future.
It's not a Southern Hemisphere thing. It's an Eastern Hemisphere
thing. Farthest east and
Southern Hemisphere has nothing to do with it.
Really?
Yeah, Southern Hemisphere is like if you're in Brazil, you're like, or like if you're in like Colombia,
Southern and east,
same as New York. Yeah.
Southern and farthest east, I thought was
Southern has nothing to do with it. It has to do with how close you are to the international date line, I think.
Where? Yeah, I saw it on TV this morning. They said it was Happy New Year for somebody that was farthest east and southern. So I thought,
I think the southern thing. I think the southern thing is just like a coincidence. It has, and it's not relevant to what
Australia's at least 12, if not 13 hours further.
But
anyway, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
for sure,
I guess
because
possible,
Dubai
was
definitely
Tokyo is at some times of the year is like 13 hours ahead.
Yeah, there was always like some weird time because I couldn't keep up when I lived. Yeah, when I lived in Dubai, I couldn't remember when the time changed what my time difference was to Los Angeles. Sometimes it was exactly 12 hours, and sometimes it was 13, or maybe it was 11. I forget.
But they're gonna it's gonna be very, very depressing when Vanuatu, which is one of the island countries threatened by rising oceans, will be completely underwater.
Get swallowed.
And it'll be like, that's just going to put a damper on the Happy New Year celebration.
Oh, that would kind of suck. Well, what a way to welcome new viewers to the show, which we are getting. I'm glad. So the new viewers, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, especially if you're on YouTube. We're almost there to the magic 500 number.
Is that true?
Actually we're getting real close. We're close to 400.
Okay.
So we're almost there. So if you don't know, I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. I'm in DC. He's in New York City. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI for short. We do bring you way too much information, as you can see, just random talk sometimes. But it is mostly news, politics, lifestyle. Literally anything goes. It could be botany. It could be a fad diet,
especially botany.
It totally. It could be botany. It could be anything. Zoology.
And certainly. Oh, certainly. We love us our animals. So
yes. Astrology. Anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything.
We should talk about astrology. Astrology. Is fun. All right.
I am down. I don't know who the new Miss Cleo is, but whoever she is, and it's always a she. I want her on the show, Ted.
Okay. All right.
I'm so down, especially in the new year, to talk to somebody that's, sees the future and sees
or claims to anyway.
Don't insult them, Ted, before we even get them on. So that's what we talk about on this show. And
if they see the future, they better have a fucking awesome stock market portfolio. That's all.
There was that warning, the F-bomb warning. Okay. If you're looking for that straight-laced button-down show, this is not it. So please, if you're a new viewer, turn your volume down. If you are at work, and we'll warn you now, we do not stop cursing from anybody. And we laugh about it, And
I'm the worst offender, though.
I do it too. I'm trying to clean it up because my son's in kindergarten. He's like repeating things I say.
Because he won't hear any cursing anywhere outside of.
I know, but
ever.
But then the teachers get all judgy and they're like, "What kind of mother do you have?" Where he's like, "My mom said blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Oh, don't, honey, don't do that. Don't. So the teachers get all judgy.
Well,
but anyway,
when my kid asked me about about cursing. He said, are some words bad? And I said, there are no bad words. There are just words that could get you in trouble if you said them in the wrong place. They're just syllables. They don't mean that's all they are.
I've explained something similar to my son because I don't want him to think that he should completely curtail words and language, but just in certain
studies have shown that smart people curse more.
Situations.
So you would be making him dumb if you don't let him curse.
No, he knows a lot of curse words for a 6-year-old.
I'm sure he does.
This show is all the stuff you already know you want to hear about, like headline news and all that stuff. And then all this random stuff that you didn't know you needed to know, because Ted, I swear, is a walking encyclopedia of all things of random nature. Ted is
worthless.
Just where I'm like, what? He's like a human Snapple cap. No joke.
But maybe more useless. Because at least a Snapple cap keeps your Snapple in, you know. What do I do?
I haven't had Snapple in so long.
I do not.
I don't know if they still put the little tidbits of information on the cap, but that's what they used to do.
You know, that's how
I used to.
I never
used to when I was very young.
It's watery and weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had it in easily 30 years. So anyway, if we are live, everybody, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow this show. And like we said, if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We are so close to that monetization magic 500 subscriber number. We are, the show's about 2 months old at this point. So we are growing. We're, kind of inching along now. We need your help to get there. So that way we can keep doing this show for you and actually making a living from it. And of course, our Rumblers, that is where the conversation, the chat room gets spicy. So if you want to, really join in
there's
on
some
the fun,
convo in the YouTube chat too.
There's some.
Not as much though.
Yeah, not as much.
But
it is.
You'll kind of have it more in the Rumble room if you go in there. So
yeah, be ready. So the Ted Manila Information Show is going to start now. We're going to talk about the MAGA Civil War. No, actually, before we start the show, I want to do. We need to do this one random thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we, talk about random stuff, right?
Do it.
We need to.
This is pre-Jaws.
This
is pre-Jaws.
Pre-Jaws.
Okay, here
we go. Because look, it is New Year's Eve. Wait, can we sing by YouTube?
Yeah, I'm sure that is a public domain song.
Is it?
Well, it depends. Maybe it depends on the version, right? Like a song can be a timeless classic, but it can be copyrighted if it's done by, let's say, a band, right? Like if the Beatles had done Auld Lang Syne, I'm sure it would be copyrighted.
Okay. So everybody's going to hear this at some point today, the song, Auld Lang Syne. So according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it defines Auld Lang Syne as a Scottish phrase meaning times long past or times long ago or old times. And it's used to evoke memories of old relationships, old loyalties, old alliances. And it says the enduring popularity of the phrase is thanks to the Scottish poet Robert Burns, who wrote a 1788 song titled Auld Lang Syne, which was later published in 1796. But Burns was known for finding inspiration in folk songs and improving upon them. Sir Robert Ayton, one of the earliest Scottish poets to write in standard English, wrote a poem titled Auld Lang Syne in the 1600s.
Old Long Syne.
Old Long. Thank you. Yes, Old Long Syne. So in standard English, but it wasn't published until after his death in 1711, and some believe that Mr. Burns drew inspiration from that earlier poem. So at the time Burns' song was published, it was set to a different tune than the one we actually know today. But in 1799, publisher George Thomson, no P, paired Burns' lyrics with a melody from the comic opera Rosina.
And who
So
doesn't
this,
remember Rosina? Oh, that would be me.
I mean,
Never heard of it.
Rosina, obviously. This
Rosina.
pairing of words and music became particularly popular among celebrants of the annual Scottish New Year celebration called Hogmanay.
Ah, Hogmanay.
Happy Hogmanay.
And a happy Hogmanay to you as well.
And it's the version that we all know and sing today. So that song gained popularity throughout the Americas, beginning though in 1929, when a Canadian band leader named Guy Lombardo
Now you've heard of Guy Lombardo.
Yes, everybody's heard of Guy Lombardo, right?
Yeah.
Debuted his annual New Year's radio show and sang that song in 1929. So for over 30 years, when he did that, he always sang Auld Lang Syne. So it became a thing. It became part of his annual set list. And now the song, I guess since 1929, has been a thing in North America. Not sure if it's a thing, Ted, everywhere else in the world.
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
Maybe in like English speaking world.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if
maybe
they do it in the English speaking world throughout.
I'm gonna ask our English speaking European friends who are watching.
Don't forget those in the antipodes. In
Sure.
A word you don't get to use all the time in New Zealand and Australia. For those who don't know,
our European friends, can you tell us, please, in the chat, is Auld Lang Syne a song played on New Year's Eve or going into the New Year in Europe? It's a Scottish song.
Like in England.
I mean, it's a Scottish song, Ted. So, I feel like the UK would play it.
Well, not necessarily. You know, the Brits, the English really, the relationship with the Scots is not perfect.
I've seen Braveheart, Ted. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I mean, Mel Gibson.
Although, I got to say, the Scots, like a bunch of pussies, voted to stay in the UK. Like, I don't understand that. After I saw Braveheart, I'm like, how could the people who were the subjects of this fictional film, how could they do this?
Like, why would you stay? Like,
no, I don't even understand. And they were like, well, but honestly, it made no sense. The Scots were going to make more money. Their economy was going to be better off. They were going to have their own fishing rights, their own offshore oil rights. They were going to make more money by being independent. There was like literally no reason to be part of the UK. They should have been like, bye.
It's like battered wife syndrome.
Yeah. Well, that was like when France and when we had a vote to join the EU. I was like, fuck that. I voted against it. All my French friends were like, I'm voting for it. I'm like, why? It's modern. I'm like, what does that even fucking mean?
Why?
It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's modern. Whatever. Like,
okay.
My cat's modern. Fuck you. It means nothing. Stupid.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
And if you guys forget, Ted is a dual French U.S. American citizen, so he gets to vote in both places.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. With that, Happy New Year, everybody. We're going to head straight to headlines. Rock and roll with the Jaws.
And off we go. Chinese state-sponsored hackers breached the Treasury Department's computer security guardrails this month and took a bunch of documents, according to what the Treasury calls a major incident. They wrote a letter to congressional lawmakers. Treasury officials provided that to Reuters yesterday. The hackers supposedly compromised third-party cybersecurity service provider Beyond Trust. Well, I guess they weren't Beyond Trust, and were able to access unclassified documents, the letter said. According to the letter, the hackers gained access to a key used by the vendor to secure a cloud-based service used to remotely provide technical support for Treasury departmental offices and users. God, Manila, to just be a sleepy fly on the boring wall of that committee hearing. I got to say, this is why I would not run for Congress, because you'd have to sit through topics like this. With access to the stolen key, the threat actor was able to override the service's security, remotely access certain Treasury DO user workstations, that's departmental offices, and access certain unclassified documents maintained by those users. Oh, the horror, the horror. Based on available indicators, the incident has been attributed to a China state-sponsored Advanced Persistent Threat Actor, APT. The Treasury Department said it was alerted to the breach by Beyond Trust on the 8th of December, and that it was working with U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the FBI to assess the impact, if any. Treasury officials did not immediately respond to an email seeking further details. The FBI did not respond to requests for comment. A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in D.C. rejects any responsibility for the hack, saying that Beijing firmly opposes the U.S.'s smear tactics against China without any factual basis. Okay.
I mean, there's got to be some. I don't know. It hasn't been presented, so
Yeah, I mean, just because the government says something, so what? And like unclassified documents were stolen, so what?
Right.
Countries hacking each other, so what?
Like everybody does. Yeah. Like this is just lame. Like, what is the net impact or the net outcome from this hack? Because, I mean, they still think, Ted, that this is like 1954 and not 2024. That they're like, oh my God, like they hacked the U.S. Treasury. Everybody in 2024, everybody knows, even in some, pygmy island somewhere off the coast of Australia, they've heard that all governments hack each other. They've all heard it. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
I'm sure the government of Papua New Guinea hacks and is hacked. I'm sure they do.
I'm sure like one village to the next hacks each other. Like, like
totally.
Like right. This tribal leader has this many goats, and like this is his tally. We have to have more goats so we can become like the main, goat tribe supplier on the island. Yeah.
Our goats are bigger than your goats. All right. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have finally settled their divorce after 8 long years. This is obviously a moment of great sadness for the attorney community across the nation. In a statement to People magazine, Jolie's lawyer, James Simon, said that the former couple had signed off on the settlement yesterday. More than 8 years ago, Angelina filed for divorce from Mr. Pitt, he said. She and the children left all of the properties they had shared with Mr. Pitt, and since that time, she is focused on finding peace and healing for their family. This is just one part of a long, ongoing process that started 8 years ago. Frankly, Angelina is exhausted, but she is relieved this one part is over. There's been no comment from Pitt's representatives. The filing says that Jolie and Pitt give up the right to any future spousal financial support. There's no further details. Obviously. The move ends or brings to the next phase one of the longest running and most public marital breakdowns in the history of Hollywood. The former power couple, who have won 3 Oscars between them, said in early 2017 that they would handle their divorce in a private forum. In 2019, a judge declared them divorced and single, but the splitting of assets and child custody needed to be resolved separately. 2 years ago, Jolie filed a counter dispute over a dispute about the sale of her half of the winery that they owned together. This is the winery in France, the Mirabel, which actually makes some really good wines. Anyway, and also there was an altercation that was documented in the countersuit in 2016 about Pitt being physically aggressive to both Jolie and their kids. A lawyer for Pitt previously said that he would accept responsibility for some past actions, but not for things he didn't do. And his rep has said Jolie continues to rehash, revise, and reimagine the altercation. The pair have 6 kids, 4 of whom are now over 18. So that's resolved. I got to say, in all of these kinds of public breakups, there's a tendency to kind of, I don't know if you feel this way, Manila, but I have a tendency to take sides and like think who I'm like, and I'm on Team Brad here, not just because he's a dude, but because I think Angelina Jolie is crazy. So that there
can both be crazy. No, I mean, I originated my career in that world, so I have no real affinity for these people. I've been around them, and Brad in particular. I know how their relationship began. I know how I've had
dish.
So, long story short,
here we are. If only there was a radio show where people could tell stories like this.
Long story short about how Brangelina began was so again, I worked in the Hollywood industry. I have some acting creds to under my belt. Nothing to brag about, but you know, I dabbled in that world, and I'm from LA. This is everybody I know is in Hollywood, right? So I was out to drinks one night with some of my friends who happened to be stuntmen on what was that? Where they met? Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's the
right.
one. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's where they met. And I don't want to narrow down this gentleman's particular job, but he was a very senior person within the stunt world.
Community. Okay.
Yes. So I don't want to whittle down his, because if I title him in his job, people might be able to figure out who spilled the beans. And but he's a British fellow, and I was out with my buddies, and the British fellow got shit faced, and he started talking about what he's seeing on set, and what happened at the time was Brad Pitt was still married to Jennifer Aniston, and he told me that Angelina Jolie was like gunning for Brad Pitt. She was gunning to break up that marriage.
Wow.
And she was doing crazy shit, like pinning Brad Pitt up against their movie trailers. You know, their
yeah.
You know, the celebrities get their makeup trailers or whatever. That she would
don't come a knocking if the trailers are rocking.
She would pin him up against the trailers and just like grab him in the crotch and then lick his face.
I like her style.
Weird. I mean, remember she just came out of like the Billy Bob Thornton era, right?
Right.
With the vials of blood and making out with her brother. So she was like super nuts at that time. And here's America's sweetheart.
I mean, that's the thing. Is crazy people are hot. That's like a thing.
Oh my god!
And that's like tomorrow. It's like what makes. Yeah. It's just true, and it's like it's hard to break free of that. But you know.
Oh my god! Well, okay,
it's been well documented.
Here, Brad Pitt is married to America's sweetheart Jennifer Aniston, right? And then you have at work, your work wife, Angelina Jolie. She was not the UN ambassador to whatever the fuck, UNICEF or whatever she does. She was not adopting children at the time. She was making out with her brother, having vials of blood, and just like doing weird incantations and literally like straddling every dude on set. But here she is gunning for Brad Pitt in particular. I think deliberately to try to, according to this British fellow.
I know Jennifer was very upset about it. Obviously.
Well, yes, deliberately trying to break up their marriage because, you know, in sick, twisted woman world, if you can steal Jennifer Aniston's husband, you now become the queen, right? Like you're the new queen.
Yeah, because Jennifer Aniston is pretty adorable. Yeah.
Right, true. She's adorable. Every woman loves Jennifer Aniston.
She's unusual because she is a woman that like women like and men find attractive too. That's unusual.
I love Jennifer Aniston. Like friends, like she just doesn't get involved in politics or you know what I mean. She's just old school.
She's cool. She's
celebrity.
Cool.
Right. She's just old school celebrity. Does her job, minds her business, lives her fabulous life. And then you have Angelina Jolie coming over here, deliberately trying to break up a marriage.
Well, I remember when things were getting bad between her and Brad, and there was speculation. Brad had this look on his face like he was in an ISIS video, like he would there would be like all the passel of adopted kids, and he just had this like, and it was just like anybody who's known anybody who's been stuck in a bad marriage, they've seen that look. And
with Jen or with Angelina?
No, with Angelina.
Yeah,
I mean, she always had that look like.
She's like a succubus, right? Like.
Oh yeah, no, I think she's the devil.
She's probably like a succubus, and just
probably. All right, we should move on.
That's my story.
Angie,
so I'm not
like, prepare the. We gotta have time for her.
That's my Hollywood backstory. So I didn't really take sides on this because. I also believe people can be reformed. So I don't hate Angelina. I
Sure,
don't.
we can send her to a re-education camp after the revolution. I'm on Team Brad, although I'm sure Brad is a hot mess also. But he's a victim of trauma. Us male victims of trauma, we have to stick together.
I was also, I did get confirmation that he is filthy and often stinks, and
Ew.
yeah, that he
looks dirty. You know, my ex-wife used to say that Brad Pitt looked dirty.
Women know, and I did get confirmation from my friends who worked with him that there are times where he would, you know, if there was like a weekend off or whatever, and he would show back up, and it was not pleasant until they forced him into, you know, shower up for hair and makeup.
That's fucking rude. All right, here we go. Puerto Rico woke up in darkness this morning after a power grid failure left nearly the entire island without electricity. About 90% of all clients were without power as of 9:30 Eastern time, according to the energy distribution company Luma Energy. It'll likely take 24 to 48 hours to turn the lights back on, conditions permitting, the company says. While the cause of the outage is under investigation, preliminary findings point to a failure in an underground line. Yvonne Baez, spokesperson for the power generator Genera, called the grid failure a major incident in a local radio interview. Although I don't know how anyone could hear it because, you know, there was no power.
Yeah.
He said that the line believed to have failed was operated by Luma and brought down plants belonging to Genera as well as private generators. Puerto Rico has long dealt with chronic power outages as its infrastructure continues to crumble. And of course, it was hit hard by Hurricane Maria, Category 4 hurricane back in 2017. So, you know, Puerto Rico is not being treated well. And I think it's because
you don't
of
have
their
to,
second-class status.
I was going to say, you don't have to. They're not a state.
And that sucks.
Just, who cares?
Yeah, I think that I think every
island are trashed, remember?
If you're in the United States, even if you're like a possession like Puerto Rico or protectorate or, you know, territory or whatever, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, which I think we bought from Denmark of all things. You know,
I think you're right.
We should have you know, you should be a full, because I mean, Greenland's got to be looking at that, right? Like, oh, like if we join the U.S., we wouldn't be a state, right? We'd be a territory. And then would we be treated like shit by the U.S. government the way that Puerto Rico is treated like shit?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, a South Korean court.
Yeah, short answer is yeah.
Yes, that's right. A South Korean court gave authorities approval earlier today, local time, to detain impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol in a criminal investigation into his martial law order, marking the first time that the sitting president of the country has faced arrest. The Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials confirmed the Seoul Western District Court approved an arrest warrant requested by investigators examining Yoon's short-lived imposition of martial law. Yoon, who's been suspended, he's still technically the president, is facing investigation on allegations that he was the leader of an insurrection. See, I don't get this. I thought he was impeached. So if he's impeached, why is he? Anyway, I guess he was impeached but not removed, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't. There are all these like fill-in presidents.
It's like Bill Clinton was impeached but not removed. One of the few criminal charges from which a South Korean president does not have immunity. Separately, his trial on impeachment is currently being held at the Constitutional Court. The arrest warrant is unprecedented and deepens the political crisis in South Korea. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, who took over from Yoon, has also been impeached by Parliament, which is dominated by the opposition. Probably we should just impeach everyone who lives in South Korea. And just get it all over with, like, you know. Well, I drive a taxi. That's okay.
You're impeached.
We're going to pre-impeach your ass. Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok, who took over as acting president after Han's impeachment, has been dealing with Sunday's crash of Jeju Air Flight 7C 2216, which killed 179 people in the deadliest air disaster in South Korea. The current arrest warrant is viable only until January 6th and gives investigators just 48 hours to hold him after he's arrested. Investigators must then decide whether to request a detention warrant or to release him. I think he should go on the lam, just like Luigi. He could hide out. Maybe no one would know where he is. And, you know, he'll become a countercultural hero.
This ends on J6. And I don't get, so they can only hold him until till J6? Is that what it is? And he's going to be thrown in
No,
jail?
they can arrest him. They can only arrest him by January 6th. If they don't, he
Oh,
walks free. And if they arrest
oh,
him anytime between now and January 6th, they can only hold him for 2 days. So I'm not really sure what the point is of this. Just to
right.
annoy him, or
What
just
kind of soft ass like laws? What? That
I
okay?
don't know. Korea's weird. They're weird people. That's how it
But
is.
oh, you know what? Because then he would lose face.
Right? We can't have that.
That's the
I think
punishment.
he's already lost face. I mean,
Yeah, but like this
his
would be
face is like
ultimate.
in the toilet.
Like ultimate losing face is like not only have you been impeached, but now you go out in handcuffs and like that's like ultimate shame on family.
Well, they
You
might
bring shame
They might
on the
not.
family.
They might not handcuff him. Yeah, I don't know
But
how
if
they
they
do
did,
it.
maybe that's the gesture. Maybe is you bring shame
No,
upon the
tell him to
family.
call Trump. Trump can teach you how you can use that mugshot to your advantage.
That's true.
Right?
Ain't that the truth? Fair enough. Yeah.
This year was a banner year for the ultra-rich. Forbes billionaire list for 2024 reveals an unprecedented number of billionaires around the world. Luigi, got to get busy, setting a new record for both the number of billionaires and their combined wealth. Among the newcomers is Taylor Swift, marking her debut as one of the world's wealthiest individuals. This year's list illustrates, why is anyone paying $2,000 to see her after hearing this? I don't know.
Nuts.
This year's list illustrates a surge in the billionaire population, now totaling, it all makes it sound like they're reproducing. Now totaling 2,781. There's 141 new ones, including her. This figure surpasses a previous high from 2021 by 20%. Despite global economic challenges like inflation, pandemics, and geopolitical tensions, the collective fortune of these billionaires has soared by 120% over the last decade. The majority, about 2/3 of the individuals, have seen their wealth go up compared to last year. Only a quarter experienced a decline. Notably, the significant wealth accumulation was predominantly seen among the top 20, who together added $700 billion to their portfolios since the previous year. The U.S. leads the count with a record 813, with a combined wealth of $5.7 trillion. Set number 2 is China, including Hong Kong. They have 473, worth $1.7 trillion. And India, which has 200, with total assets of $954 billion. The India thing is actually really surprising, right? Considering just how desperately poor most people's lives are.
Oh, God, it's talk about Slumdog Millionaire.
Topping the 2024 list is Bernard Arnault and his family. They're the force between the conglomerate LVMH, Moet, Hennessy, Louis Vuitton, Clovis, Merrill, Pierce, Fannie Smith, White House, Cablevision. Anyway, I'm just going on. With an impressive
that guy. That's him.
He's that rich guy with an impressive fortune of $233 billion. This is Arnault's second consecutive year as number 1. Elon Musk is number 2. He has $195 billion. Bezos is
what a pauper.
Number 3, with just behind at 194. Taylor's entry with an estimated net worth of $1.1 billion highlights her earnings from songwriting and performance. Her success is further underscored by the Eras Tour, which became the first to generate over $1 billion in revenue from suckers. From her fans.
True.
Swift stands out among the 265 new names on this year's list. The title of the wealthiest newcomer goes to Italy's Andrea Pignataro. The good news is that you're getting married to a billionaire. The bad news is her last name is Pignataro, the founder of the financial software company Ion Group, which, Andrea is a he.
If you're Italian, like Andrea Bocelli.
Situation, or?
No. If you're Italian, if he's Italian, like Andrea Bocelli, like that's Andrea is a male name.
Okay, maybe it's a boy named Sue type of situation, which he expanded through strategic acquisitions. Pignataro's net worth is estimated at $27.5 billion, a significant debut on Forbes' list.
Yeah, so Ted, is Forbes saying that this year, it being a banner year for the ultra rich, was this an even better year than like the first or second year of COVID?
With the first or second year of what?
COVID, because remember, like the ultra rich got ultra rich.
Well,
during
this is
COVID.
saying that it's like basically they compared this to 2021, right? That was the previous high. So, yeah.
The
there
previous
was
high, that 2021 would be the
that
first
was the
full
height
year of
of
COVID.
COVID. Yeah, the height
Yes,
of COVID.
the greatest wealth transfer in human history was 2021, after they did the math, right, from 2020, which was the COVID era. So there you go.
Now, bear in mind, these are all estimates. I mean, even these people themselves really don't know how much they're worth. And it's not like if, say, Taylor Swift decided to liquidate everything. Let's just say she died and her heirs and assignees decided to dump her entire portfolio and everything she's worth. It's unlikely they could get $1.1 billion, right? I mean, it's like sort of, it's paper for the most part. Yeah. I mean, like if you have a lot of stock, for example, you can't dump it all at the same time without tanking the value of the stock, as Brian Thompson did at United Healthcare.
Boy.
You know, you kind of like have to, you have to dump it a little bit at a time. So it's paper wealth. I mean, obviously these are super rich people. This is all just another reminder that we need a communist revolution tomorrow. Well, actually, we could have it this afternoon. That'd be fine.
Combined wealth.
There's no time to waste, though.
World tech billionaires, $2.6 trillion. So and there you are, guys. Happy New Year, everybody.
Anyone who thinks this is okay, think of all the people who die because they can't afford medical care. Think of all the homeless people. Think about you yourself when you're worried about paying your bills.
Yeah.
Fuck these fuckers. They all need to be sent to camps. They all need to have their stuff taken.
We are going to be talking about mainly in the next segment about this tech billionaire with our buddy Angie. You're not gonna see Angie because she's traveling, so she's just audio only. But we are going to be talking about Elon. So he's what, the world's second richest man behind Arnault?
He is number 2. Yeah,
number 2, followed closely by Bezos. So
yeah, it's basically a tie for those two. Yeah, they're tied for second, really.
Well, there you go. 2024 was a great year for the ultra rich.
Musk is well poised, if things go well, because of his connections with the incoming administration, to get so many fucking government contracts that he'll be able to up that money. Although Bezos also is in tight with the government, so.
Yeah, totally. The ultra rich continue to get ultra rich.
Shall we jaws it?
And there you go. Let's jaws it and head over to our main topic.
In advance, while I bring us in, maybe you can pull up Angie's official bio, because I could probably BS my way through it, but I'd rather have the official.
Oh, is it not in there? Oh yeah, I didn't put that in there.
I forgot to put it in there. Anyway, all right. Civil war has broken out inside the Republican Party just weeks after its triumphant election victory. Generally speaking, the issue is immigration, one of the top issues in the campaign. The populist MAGA base of the GOP wants it limited or eliminated. But Trump's billionaire allies, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, are pushing hard for those H-1B visas that allow tech companies and other employers to import foreign workers. So far, Trump seems to be siding with Team DOGE. Will this controversy tear apart Trump's fragile coalition before he even comes back to the Oval Office on January 20th? Joining us is friend of the show, my former co-host, Angie Wong.
Happy end of 2024. Nice to see you. And you know what? This is my last media hit for the year. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Like a reunion.
Thank you.
No, this is great.
Yes.
No. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun way to usher out the last show of 2024. I got to say, 2024 has been a shit year for me all the way around. One, I'm still not on that Forbes billionaire list. I have a lot of work to do.
You do.
And, like maybe I could start with getting employed in 2024.
That's a step in the right direction.
That's a step in the right direction, and get healthy. But like, here we are. It's the end of the year, and like, I'm not a party to this whole like MAGA thing. Everyone's asking me my opinion about this thing, this whole H-1B. Like, I can see both sides of this, Angie. Like, I don't, it's just not it's not. I'm not, for whatever reason other than the cultural aspect of it. I can see how the H-1B thing is like you're really like dragging down wages in the same way illegal immigration and the people working at the farms doing the shit jobs that many Americans don't want to do, but perhaps because it doesn't pay well, now it's like chicken or the egg. What are your thoughts on all of this? Explain for the people like me who are not really, we're kind of middle of the road. We're not quite MAGA, but we don't hate MAGA. Tell us what's going on.
Well, that's good. That's a nice move in the right direction. Look, this H-1B controversy, it was started basically to move our narrative away from some other story that they didn't want breaking. It's a non-issue. Look, we all support, and I'll say all for my end of the MAGA world, we support legal immigration, right? And if that's coming through an HB1 visa, so be it. When Trump gets into office, he could limit those numbers coming in if that's really the case. But I think we do need to create a legal pathway for legal immigration. That way people don't have to bum rush our borders every single day, right? If there was a real pathway of coming in, let's do it. And if we want to attract the most talented people around the world, let's do it, because we're going to need that to compete with the rest of the superpowers that's right behind us. And I think that is not a bad thing to have. Now, yeah, there's going to be some extremists, as always, who are going to be fighting for no, America first. We're only hire Americans. Well, those are the same people saying, only buy from American-made stuff. I wish America can make all this stuff that we're always consuming on a daily basis. It's just not a reality that we have. And it's kind of like EV cars, right? You can't just put a mandate for 2030 for all cars to be, electronic vehicles. It's just not going to happen. You need to phase it in, and you need to build the infrastructure so that things can be America first. But unfortunately, you have a couple of dum-dums who think like, okay, the Trump switch is going to go on January 20th and everything's going to be America first, and, out with the illegals and out with foreigners, basically is what they're saying, right? It's not a reality.
I thought that too. I kind of viewed it that way, and I'm not from MAGA world, right? I kind of viewed it as like, well, we don't quite have the infrastructure. Like Ted and I were talking about this, I think when it broke out, went on last Friday, Ted, or Thursday, something like that.
Yeah.
That I said, at least on the culture stuff, I totally get what Vivek was saying, right? That like the Steve Urkel thing versus like the AC Slater and the Zach Morris thing. I get that. Like in Asian culture, nerdism is revered, whereas like in American, and I'm not going to even say white. I'm not going to say white culture. I'm going to say American culture in general, because America is every color, every, and I firmly believe that. American culture is like prom queen, like Vivek said, like, oh, be the beauty queen, be the prom queen, be the, star quarterback or whatever. So I waded into that world. I can get that. But because our education system, the infrastructure has just gone to shit. Our culture is not there, pushing kids to be STEM and be, this or that or the other. Then I get why the H-1B thing has to still exist, and we have to kind of whittle it down.
But listen, that's a false narrative here. 4% of tech workers in the United States are unemployed, right? So, we don't need to import any, because we have plenty right here. And right now, by the way, there's a new poll that just came out, Rasmussen poll. It just came out like this morning. It says that 6 out of 10 Americans are against any kind of H-1B expansion. And the voters they're violently opposed to it. 26% is the total who say that we should have more foreign workers. Most people are completely against it. Among Republicans, 72% says that the U.S. has enough talented people who can be trained and recruited for these jobs. 63% of swing voters agree, and 47% of Democrats also believe the same. So these H-1B visas are unpopular, especially among Republicans, but really among all Americans.
Yeah, and guess what? I mean, if we're talking about the tech world here and other industries, they don't have to be on American soil to actually operate, right? If
True.
if you don't have to, if you don't have to go through the hassle of the H-1B visa and pay what is it, like $26,000 for the whole, start to finish
Yep.
process of at least
Yeah, but
26,000.
they save a lot of money because they only pay
Sure.
them 60% as much as they pay Americans.
Okay, let's say all those things happen. Wouldn't it be just cheaper to open up a factory in India? Or
Absolutely.
open up, right, an offsite?
Sure.
So that's the reality of things. We want the talent here on the ground where they're paying taxes, contributing, and working their butts off,
And
like
taking jobs
harder
away from Americans.
well, again, this is a lot of people see this as a pathway to a citizenship versus taking jobs away from people here. Now, until we fix a couple of things here, like our universities, like our education system, about, like my son, he's not learning about space, right? He's not learning about engineering or maths. He's learning about George Floyd still in school.
Oh,
Oh yeah. So until we fix that kind of stuff and make our own kids competitive in the
yeah.
next generation, you're not going to be producing that level of talent.
We have
Now, other countries
4% unemployment, though, among tech workers. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I think I'm not alone, if there's one person in the United States who's a US citizen, who's unemployed or underemployed, who could be trained, they should be. And before we start looking overseas. Now, if we have a shortage of people, I'm all for it, like bringing new people in from outside. But why would we let Americans stay underemployed or unemployed while we're importing foreigners?
Yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of these job categories that Americans don't want. Remember we had a shortage of nurses for a long time,
Right, right.
and we were
And like we
importing.
always talk about, like the farm workers, right, Angie? Like these are the shit jobs that Americans just won't do. And I don't even know that if you offered them $20 an hour to pick bushels of strawberries, that they would.
If you offered
Yeah.
them 50, you would. They'd do it. Believe me, there's a number. Okay,
Right.
there's a number that you can get. People, you can pay people
And then what?
to
We're
remove
paying.
asbestos.
Then how much
okay?
are we paying for a pound of strawberries, Ted? I couldn't. I mean, I can scarcely afford a pound of strawberries now.
Well, if people were being paid $50 an hour to pick strawberries, we'd probably all be getting paid more. So if strawberries cost more, it wouldn't matter because we'd all be making more money to pay for the strawberries. The whole scale of everything would just increase. That's all.
I love that we should be having this conversation right now, because I think the American workforce is going to take a turn. It has to. You have all these fractures coming in. You have AI coming in. Look, my job as a campaign worker may be obsolete by the next election cycle because I just punched into AI. Well, if I'm running a campaign, what do I need to do? And how can you do it for me? And there's going to be the next generation AI, which is going to be released very soon in 2025. It's going to be able to perform duties of, let's say, a webmaster, of social media
Like
influencer.
lower end like tech stuff, right? Like
Correct.
like more entry level. What would have been entry level tech stuff 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Yeah, AI is going to
Angie,
start.
I got to
doing
ask
that.
about this conflict, though. I mean, we've seen what happens on the Democratic side when there's a civil war in the Democratic Party that's been actually raging for many years between the progressive left side of the party and the corporatist establishment side of the party, sort of the Bernie versus Hillary kind of
The
struggle.
progressive side just fucking
And
just lays down and takes it,
but
Ted.
well,
Just let's be
that
honest.
said, well, that's true in the Democratic side so far. But okay, but now you have this conflict. I mean, Donald Trump is between a rock and a hard place, right? And Molly Ivan said, "You dance with them that brung you." Well, the people who brought Donald Trump to the ball is the populist right? It's the America First MAGA people, and then Vivek and Elon are on the other side of that equation because they're globalists and corporatists who they don't care really about the country. What they're just trying to do is make as much money as possible. So there's a conflict there, right? I mean, there's a fracture within the right. So, like, how does Donald Trump keep his coalition together? How does he keep both sides happy?
Oh, wow. Look, I love that question because you see it as a fracture and it's framed as a fracture. It may not be a fracture. I think the end goal really is to save America. And I know that sounds weird because you have two different approaches, right? You have someone who he's an immigrant himself to America, Elon Musk,
Elon,
who right, and he worked his butt off to get to where he is. So he sees the accomplishments. Same with Vivek. At some point, whether him or his family move to America and work their butts off to get to the point where he can even be where he
Well, he
can
was
even
also
be a
from a very
presidential
wealthy family
candidate.
too. That doesn't
Yeah,
hurt.
like his mom was like a doctor, or dad, or one of them was a doctor or something like that, and the other one was like a business person anyway. So he came from Vivek came from money already, like not great wealth, but
And Elon
very
came from
well-to-do.
filthy, like apartheid money. I mean, you know.
Elon came from wealth also. And Andrew, you're not seeing this because you're audio only, but on the screen I have Elon's tweet posted, and he changed his handle on Twitter, on X, to be Caecius Maximus, and put the Pepe frog in a yeah, the Pepe frog face with it wearing like a Roman soldier, armor.
Right.
And he says, this is the tweet that got him, that's just setting off the war, is he says, the reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H1B. Take a big step back and fuck yourself in the face.
Love it.
I
I
will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend.
Yeah, but does Donald Trump want that war?
Well, hold on. Now, hold on, Angie. Hold that thought, because I want to do some Donald Trump on the stump. Just listen to this audio for 1 minute. Donald Trump on the stump versus Donald Trump the other day, who sounds like he's kissing the ring of his second biggest financial backer behind Miriam Adelson, which is Elon Musk. So this is going to take about 1 minute. So have a listen. Hold on. Here's Trump.
Well, first of all, I think, and I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
A few moments later.
And what I will do is, you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically, as part of your diploma, a green card. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here.
I guess it's kind of like that Captain America Civil War movie, right?
All right. So you guys heard that there,
Yep.
right? Donald Trump just literally a couple of years ago saying H-1B is bad. I'm going to end it if I get back into office. And now he's coming back to office. And he's like, now he's tweeting or truthing or whatever. He's like, I've used it. Used it for what? You don't own a tech company. Well, I guess he owns Truth. So maybe, I don't know.
He does use it. He used it for his properties. I'm sure.
I heard he was using H-2B visas for that. That's a different, like, unskilled kind of thing.
Look, these things exist for a reason. Have they been abused? Probably. Have other
100%.
industries, right? Have certain industries overused it? Yes. But again, quotas, guys. I'm not for killing these programs. I think they're good for America. I think there are a lot of things that we just are not very good at, right?
I
For
don't see how
example-
they're good for America. I mean, how are they good for American workers? I mean, I don't get it.
I think
if you're sitting at
it's-
home in your house unemployed,
Well, I think that's, in some ways, I look at it more like a teaching experience. So, for example, like semiconductors. We're not experts in semiconductors, but if we brought in a couple of people from Taiwan who've been doing this for 30, 40 years, American workers, then that's not a bad thing, is it? Right? So, I mean, I see there's benefits to it. I think it has been abused. I think certain industries only use it. And we, certainly the financial industry loves this, right? But remember, if there is a cost penalty to hiring foreign workers, companies may go back and say, hey, that may not work for me, right? I'll give you a story. I brought in a foreign worker, and she was just my nanny for 1 year. I went through the whole HB1 visa process. I think it was HB1. And I paid her wages that were American wages. That was part of the program. It's not like you get to skimp out on wages. You have to still pay, whatever
Right.
the, whatever that tax year is. She was happy. She went home after 1 year and bought a house in the Philippines. She loved it and took care of her family. She's now in real estate. I mean, the whole thing. So I feel pretty good about it. But I do think maybe there's some reform that can happen. For example, maybe after 5 years, you have to go back. I don't know. Whatever it may be. I think there's
Well, they have to
some
go
sort-
back if they lose their job. They have to go. They're basically indentured servants.
Yeah,
And
that's how Americans see it. And I can see that because they don't have the rights of Americans.
that's how they see it when you talk to them. But like, I mean, how would you feel personally? I mean, about a provision that shows that, like, if a company if they have an opening, they have to prove that they have reached out all over the country to unemployed people and who could be trained, and that they've been turned down by everybody, and only then can they like look overseas.
There are provisions like that already in order
They
to
just
hire-
certify it. They just say like, well, we tried,
Oh,
but
we
they don't have
did
to
it.
prove. They don't have to prove it.
Well, they do. They kind of have to. That's why like monster.com and all these job sites are so prevalent, right? Is because like they post all over the place. Now, do they go and they interview everyone and reject everyone? Yeah, I mean, people play the system, of course. But
Yeah.
again, if you make it so impossible for them to come in, but at the same time not close the pathway altogether, maybe that will limit them. So we also have the EB1 visa, right? Where if a company or an individual brings in a crazy amount of money to the US and hires up to 10 people or more Americans, then they have a natural pathway to citizenship, right? So, like, all these things exist. I think they were with good intentions. Maybe they've been gamed a little bit too much. And that's why these conversations are happening. But you have to remember, we have to look at the future of job fair here in America. AI literally is taking over all of this stuff. I mean, I'm
That's true.
talking right. So
Well,
one
Elon Musk had brought up the idea. So of course, you guys know what the universal basic income idea is, that like Andrew Yang had brought up that every American would get $12,000 a year there or about, kind of like the way that Alaskans got I don't know if they still get that. I think they still do the oil pipeline money. You just get money just for living in Alaska. But Elon Musk had this
Emiratis
idea
are like that.
about AI called and their plan, and the Kazakhs are like that too now that they have oil. But anyway, Elon had this idea that he mentioned like a year ago, called a universal high income. In other words, it's not like 10 grand, sort of like a subsidy, not enough to live on, but actually you pay people a full salary, like a beyond living wage, like a generous wage, just to not work, in order to keep
To exist?
just to keep society stable and to prevent us from becoming India, just so you pay people to sit at home and not start a revolution and string up all the billionaires from lampposts.
Okay. And so what happens to the American spirit? What happens to motivation and drive
Right.
and ambition and all those things?
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
not
to sit
a
at
fan.
home
I
and
think,
stare
I
at the
think
wall.
people would. I think there are a lot of people who are. That's going to exist, right? I mean, there are people who are going to not want to do that, right? There are people who
I
are
don't
like, I want to start my own business.
I don't know. I
That's-
don't know.
know.
That's
because
psychology.
my grandparents came here with like $20, right?
Yeah,
And
mine too.
the only way they could eat is to work their butts off.
Bust your
and-
ass
Right.
and go do something.
If you told me that, well, Ted Rall, you can earn $150,000 sitting on your butt watching Netflix all day, or $150,000 talking to you guys on the air, I would take this. This
No,
is more fun.
yeah, of course, but that's you. Like that's the thing that I was talking with you and producer Robbie about is how there is 100% a subset of human beings here in the US that would absolutely fucking exploit any program to get a free dime, like when they are
Okay, so let 'em
able-bodied
stay
and
home.
willing to. So yeah, like I'm just not, I'm a big fan of meritocracy myself, and
But if they don't,
I-
if AI means that we don't need as many workers, well then, what's your solution? I mean, you just want to let people
well, look,
starve?
we're shifting conversation. Like this is not a fucking UBI conversation, because
Right.
honestly, like there's like we're talking about MAGA civil war here, and like the
Yeah,
question
we've been
is
dancing around
what
that, right?
what happens to MAGA
Who's going to
world?
win? And who's going
Like
to
if
win?
like look, you can't see this, Angie, on screen. I
see
actually
it.
have oh, you do? Okay. So I have it's an Indian newscast that's showing that of the H-1B visas in the US, more than 70% of them go to Indians, and
Mhm.
then less than 12% go to Chinese,
Mhm.
and then probably random other around the world. So this is probably why we're seeing like the whole conversation become racist against Indians themselves, and now
Yeah, well, okay, and I'll give you some insider facts about this. Well, Modi's people have been all over Mar-a-Lago for the last few months. They're tossing money left, right, and center. There's a reason why all this is happening, why it's in the news, right? Because they want India to look. India is going to be one of when we talk about global conflicts here. It's there. It's right there next to China. China's building bricks. All this stuff is happening all in that region. Now, India becoming a big ally of the US is going to be very, very beneficial to us. Now, what do they want to exchange? For some reason, HB1 visas, H1B visas, and all these other, ask. And that's what any country coming, to the next president is going to have. They're going to have asks. And again, this is what's been happening for decades. Now, you asked me about MAGA and the conflict here. Who's going to win? Well, who's the war between? Is it between Elon Musk and Laura Loomer, who are fighting this issue out online? Like, who's it really? Ultimately, I think
Yeah.
there's
like the purists, like I would say Laura Loomer probably considers herself like a MAGA purist, like pure MAGA. And then you have like Elon and Vivek, who are obviously, very wealthy people who have a vested interest in, deviating slightly off the purist route.
Yeah. Okay. So Trump's already he's already made, several posts siding with Elon Musk and Vivek, right? He said, we're, H-1B visas are here to stay. I use them in my properties. He's not going to kill that idea. Now, Laura Loomer, she makes her living based on being an extremist, right? Whether or not she even, she's an angry person because as an online personality, because it makes her money. Right?
When clicks, yes.
Yeah, when you meet her, like, on the street, she's like a nice, normal person. Like, she's just like,
really?
Yeah, she's not totally, like, a lot of this is for play. We know this, and, we're all in media, so we put
Ann
up a
Coulter
personality.
is like that. In reality, she's like really painfully shy and a scaredy cat.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
tried
you
to
can have
talk
a
to her and she
beer.
ran away from me. I think she thought I was going to attack her. I wanted to
Weird.
pitch her a
Weird.
show.
But we're all like
Weird.
that a little bit. But she makes her money by being extremist. They, as we've learned from various reports, most recently, she gets paid by a social media company to do that kind of extreme right.
To be a provocateur.
Yes.
Hmm.
And and she echoes the message. It's not real.
It's the
Trump's putting a clamp to this. And you know what? Susie Wilds came out yesterday and said, all right, anyone who's being nominated to be a cabinet member, you put down your phone, no more social media tweets until January 20th.
I mean, I guess the question is, so Angie, your point's well taken, right? I mean, there's a lot of theater here, as always.
Yes.
And you're very good at pointing that out. I guess the question here is is this something that rank and file Republican Trump supporters are going to look at, let's say after January 20th, and if they see, if they start to conclude that Trump broke his promise to control the border and cut back immigration and all that, and that the H-1B visas are an example of him breaking that promise, will they notice? Will they care? I guess is the question. In other words, will it really have an effect? Or will this just be like they'll shrug their shoulders and like, sort of like the progressive Democrats, they'll just like, oh well, and they'll live with it.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm gonna roll it back a little bit. This riff between Musk and using H-1B visas as a vehicle, basically to not only change the topic, but to create, to make Trump into this absolutism. It's actually, I think Trump's going to try to roll this back. He is not going to let this become an issue, because this is about fracturing Elon Musk and moving Elon Musk away from their BFF relationship, right? You have a lot of jealous people who've worked for Trump over the years who do not have the same access to Trump they once had that Elon Musk has now. They text each other all day long, right? Elon Musk took the cottage at Mar-a-Lago for $2,000 a night.
Yep.
Yes, they're like buddies. They're like living
They're
together.
like bosom buddies, like roommates.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
what?
Yeah. So look, you have people from
Maybe
the
they spoon at
2016. Oh, stop.
Super weird.
Okay.
So weird. So weird.
Whatever they do, I don't care. I mean, if they're having a whiskey upstairs, that's great for them. Look, what has happened is you have people who've worked for Trump over the last 3 elections, and they have lost access to Trump's ear. And that's the reality. I've seen people sidelined, and I was like, okay, thank you very much. You got me into the office. Bye.
Right.
And that's who's causing these fractures that we're seeing right now. And
because
now
there's like a finite amount of space in Trump's, like sphere of influence, right? And that and Elon is probably taking up the lion's share. So
but also you have to remember that Trump has to stay out of trouble for the next 21 days, right? He's got to just stay as clean as possible. So Elon Musk and Vivek, I believe that they're just surrogates for Trump. Trump is telling them, okay, can you put this out as a tweet? Because he can't say it himself, at least not until he gets into office, until he gets the keys to 1600, right? He has to stay out of trouble. So I think these are directives coming from Trump. But again, people who, it's sad. If you go to the Trump's golf course in Palm Beach, there are very, very prominent politicians, lifetimers sitting in the lobby of the golf course, waiting for Trump to walk in through the doors just so they can ambush him and say, can I have a job, please? They're like fully suited up. They've got their resume in their hand. And like these guys have been politicians for like 4 decades, and they can't get access to Trump. So that's what this is about. That's the behind the scenes on this. And Elon, look, he literally has the future in the palm of his hands. He has algorithms and all the metadata and the microdata that can predict things before they happen. We know this because he's bragged about it, right?
Right.
So he's able to see all the fractures and see what people are actually doing. Is H-1B actually an issue that Americans care about? No. But why is this fraction of MAGA turning it into an issue? So Ted, I'm answering your question by saying a lot of these narratives are manufactured, right? They don't exist. Okay. It's not like me, MAGA girl, really cares about H-1B visas. And I'm saying so online. I'm like, I welcome anyone who comes in here legally. I don't mind. But, there's a fracture who wants to flip Elon Musk because they know Elon and Vivek, they rely on these visas to run their companies. So that's kind of the insider scoop that I think I can give you.
So, Angie, your read on it is like you think this is like kind of like a media born or media spun, social media that is spun narrative that's like meant to be a wedge between like into Trump world to kind of mess it up before Trump even gets into office?
There are reports that confirm what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there is essentially Democrats do this all the time. They get something called I think it's called the morning sheet, or maybe it's just called the morning tip sheet. That
Yeah,
used to
they're
happen back in the day, but
they're
now
talking points.
right.
Yeah.
So Republicans have that now too, but it's on a much smaller scale, and they give it out at 4 a.m. every morning to a bunch of influencers, right? So they get their morning call, and each influencer gets paid X amount for posting this stuff.
Mhm.
And they were caught over
And
Christmas.
some of them are shit posts on purpose.
Yes, some of them are shit posts, but the idea is to, gain the momentum. So H-1B visas was on this call list as one of the things that they wanted all these influencers who are getting paid to play to put out there. Now,
Wow.
that's a manufactured drama, right?
Right.
Now, why they were doing it or who was making the calls, we don't really know yet. But it was manufactured. And my assessment of that is it was manufactured to put trouble in Trump world and wedge between, the tech bros living with Trump right now.
So weird. There's tech bros living. And by the way, I knew Elon was tall. Like, I'm looking at this video. I didn't know he was that tall because Trump is tall. And Elon's even taller than him. I didn't know Elon was that tall.
It must be all the South African dairy, right?
He
know.
looks taller because he looks thinner now that he's lost weight.
Is that what it is? But look,
Yeah,
like
he was
he's
like portly before.
like Trump's what, 6'3" or something like that?
Depends on who you talk to. 6'2" or 6'3".
No comment.
He's probably shrinking a little bit, right? Because
he's old, but he's definitely like over 6'2". I've been in the same room as Trump, not close, but
I think he's 6'2".
but
I think he's exactly
6'2",
6'1" or
6'3".
6'2". Yeah.
And Elon, I've seen him in passing at the Detroit Auto Show. He didn't stop to talk to me. I tried. But I remember thinking he was tall, but I didn't know he was that tall. So he's got the new hair, new height, the new Ozempic bod.
Yep.
He's getting ready for inauguration, man.
He really is. He's looking forward to being, co-president or whatever they're calling
Doge, yeah. Doge, whatever he's going to be.
Doge
Doge czar.
Look, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we should be welcoming this guy. I mean, he's a pretty smart genius type, right?
How long is that going to last, right?
I know.
Everyone's kind of waiting for the bromance to break up. It's like Brangelina. They're on the way out. This is not good. This is This is like at the wedding where you're like, these two aren't going to make it.
Well, Angie wasn't here for my earlier description of how Brangelina happened with the whole face lick and crotch grab. Who's grabbing whose crotch here?
Oh, very clearly.
Oh, okay. Well,
Elon's doing the grabbing here.
Angelina.
In politics, everyone's transactional, right? If you can provide something, you're in use. If you're completely useless, you're sidelined. And that, so Elon has his use right now. He's got a lot of cleaning up to do. There's a lot of government inefficiencies that needs to get tossed. And he'll do his job, and maybe he'll go back to SpaceX and all the other great things he's, producing. Yeah, so I think it's a welcome thing. I mean, he's an actual doer. Yeah, he's a little bit grandiose, and he's not, he's not the details guy. But, we need someone to kick America's butt to get things done, and he doesn't care. You know why? Because he's got all the money in the world. So, literally. He's doing it for hopefully the right reasons. It's not for the money. It's not for the fame. It's because he can. And there's not too many people who can do this type of work without being compromised in the political world. So I love it.
African oligarch.
All right. Well, okay.
South African oligarch there.
Look, sometimes it just takes a very special person just to get us started. And then we're there. Trump's not even in office yet. And all this stuff is already happening, right? So
that's because Joe Biden, he's literally on vacation in St. Croix and like nowhere to be found. So like I don't know, the Oval Office is set on autopilot right now, and who knows who's running what. So everybody's paying attention to what's happening with Trump, unlike ever before. Like, we thought the attention was paid to incoming Trump in 2016-17. This is like ultra under the microscope. Everything, every move that Trump world makes, including the random people on social media. I mean, I'm not talking just about like Laura Loomer and the ones, you know, with big accounts. Literally just random ass people that are, you know, consider themselves MAGA are starting to give brands and names to themselves over this, and mainstream media is paying attention to all of it, literally down to the average Joe MAGA person, because you have people like Neera Tanden like getting into fucking fights with them on Twitter, like random people, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what world am I living in?
Well,
Get me out of here.
Get out of the matrix.
Get me out of here. I hate this.
No, and you have to remember, so much of it is manufactured. I have to remind myself every day whenever I see a new like story of the day. It's like, is this actually real? Look, I don't believe for a second that Joe Biden is just sitting in St. Croix drinking out of a coconut. All right, I don't think that's no. He does this intentionally. He goes on holidays all the time, so there's no, White House log, right? He meets with people.
Oh.
Things are happening, guys. I mean, the same way, Trump is going to take a lot of meetings
Angie,
at Mar-a-Lago.
Biden's brain checked out 4 years ago.
Right.
Before he got inaugurated. So,
meetings
whoever's meeting him,
yeah,
they're set. Whoever's meeting him in St. Croix is talking to the coconut, not Biden. So.
Well, just know things are happening, and what's scary is that we're not reporting on what is happening with the president, because we don't know what he's setting forward. We don't know what Trump's going to be inheriting. We don't know what the first quarter of 2025 is going to look like. It's frightening.
Good point. I'm scared. I'm scared for 2025. Not, just everything, not just the Trump thing and the Elon thing. It's just, oh boy, buckle up, Angie.
Oh yeah,
buckle up. Happy New Year.
I know. I mean, look, we should talk about what trends we think will happen in 2025, because it's a great honeymoon period right now. It's like right before the marriage. We're going to go like right before the wedding on the 20th, but things are going to happen, and we better be able to pivot. We better understand what's really going on, because so much of it is going to be, okay, whatever we manufacture. And that's what Elon Musk is really good at. He can make certain topics the news of the day.
Yes.
Now,
he moves markets.
Right. Think about that. That's really why he bought Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And if he's able to shape this, it could be for the good or it could be for the bad. It could be, look, a lot of, I don't know if you know what's happening with American banks right now. And and Ted, maybe this happens all the time towards the end of the year. They are cutting jobs like crazy right now. There are teams where they have to slice by 25%. And I don't know if that's typical or not typical of an American bank.
It is layoff time.
It is layoff time, right?
Yeah, that is typical. The numbers are bigger than usual.
Yes.
There's a general sense that we're heading into a recession, maybe worse next year. And there's a lot. I mean, the real estate market is completely both frozen and a bubble, which is the worst possible combination.
Yep.
Interest rates are, the Fed just can't figure out what to do in terms of getting the right mix on interest rates. And there's sort of an 18-year cycle that we're kind of due for a recession. So, and I think there's sort of a malaise that's setting in Jimmy Carter's honor.
I was going to say that's a Jimmy Carter word.
Yeah, although he never said it, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wrote it. No?
He never said it. He didn't say it in the speech. It was called the malaise speech, but he never said malaise. Yeah. Famously.
Well, all these things scare me. And what better to kind of offset a recession would be, well, you don't promote the fear, right? Because that's when it spirals.
Right.
So I think, and I wonder if I'm sure Elon's very well tuned to all this. I wonder if this is kind of like a test drive to what he may or may not have to do when all this comes tumbling down, because we all see it. They certainly see it. The markets are going to adjust, and we're going to find out some real job numbers come quarter one, quarter two. I mean, right now, I mean, I'm no economist, but the numbers that are coming out are highly inflated, right? For job numbers that we've seen in the past few quarters. I think the
Oh,
real
yeah.
numbers are going to be it's going to be a real shocker, because they included a lot of the part-time jobs, a lot of, I'm sorry to say, the illegals taking jobs, a lot of like the
No,
temp
it's just in
work.
general, these fake numbers from BLS. There was a story about this like 3 months ago, I think, about the Biden BLS, about they literally just completely faked numbers. Like they just overinflated numbers. Like everything is a lie, basically, the last 4 years that came out of BLS.
Yeah.
So that's
Bureau
proof.
of Labor Statistics for people who don't know.
So like there's gonna be some realities that we're gonna have to face. They're gonna blame it on Trump, of course, but managing the PR on that is going to be critical to American lives, because if we all believe we're in recession, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna not
It's
buy
true.
Like
anything.
that's
We're
true.
gonna we're gonna maybe work harder. I don't know. We're gonna do all
Well,
it's all psychological. So I think Elon Musk, understanding that and putting a tamp on certain things, even if that means it sounds like silencing, the fear mongers, I don't know if that's a terrible thing either. And I hate saying that because obviously we enjoy free speech. But there's so much shenanigans. If one super PAC can control over 50 influencers on the social media platforms, well, they can do a lot of harm, right? And that's one voice being echoed out to millions of people. And there's a lot of things at play here that we're just understanding now. Trump and Elon gets it. But I honestly believe these two guys, as much as they love making money, there's something else driving them. There's authenticity in them, and I say that just following them. I don't know for sure, but there is something authentic about them versus just being here to screw over people, make money, like government as usual. It's not like that with these guys. So I think that's what Americans voted for. Let's give them a shot. They're obviously going to hit a lot of turmoil in the first two quarters, and I pray for them.
I pray for all of us, Angie, in 2025.
Yes.
Good God.
Indeed.
Well, with that, we'll let you go right there. I know you're traveling and doing stuff right now for the new year. I look forward to Ted and I both. I'm sure we all look forward to seeing you and hearing you again in the new year very soon. And this is all I can say is buckle up, right, Angie? And Angie, you're on the ground in Florida, so buckle up.
Well, let's
is the term.
No, we're all in this together, and you know what? I'm so happy that you have this new show, because again, this is what's going to be reporting the real news, not some of the fakery we've been seeing over the last few years. So keep it up, you guys. Thank you.
From mainstream, oh my God, like everybody knows that now. If you want real stuff, real conversation, and real actual, like hearing it from people, like the dog's mouth, hearing it from the horse's mouth, or people that are eyewitnesses to things, you're not going to hear it from mainstream media.
No,
that's where you get like all the CIA fakery that's literally up, like people that were former CIA, not only hacks, but like whole ass like former leaders of the CIA to
I know.
Give talking, like, really we're supposed to believe them?
Yep.
No. Like, come on. No.
Not anymore.
I don't want to believe James Clapper. No, because his career was to lie to us and to lie to the world. So no, I'm not going to believe James Clapper. But, that's mainstream media. Anyway, whole different conversation.
Yep, absolutely. No, I love it all. I love the gamemanship of the whole thing. I love that you guys dissect it. I'm sure, look, I'm sure we're going to be deplatformed at least once next year. Right?
I already got deplatformed from YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube like nuked my entire account. I can't even, Well,
Wow.
yeah, I had to like make a new one, and if me saying this, like their algorithm is probably going to figure it out. So like I had to make a new YouTube account for my son. But yeah, my Manila Chan YouTube, my account got completely nuked without explanation. Like my account, not just the channel, the account. So I'm done with 2024. I know 2025 is going to be wild, but for me, in my opinion, it can't be worse than the Biden years, and it can't be worse than 2024. So God bless. Happy New Year, Angie.
Happy New
We
Year.
will see you in 2025. Thank you so much for carving out time for us. We always
Happy
love
New Year,
having you.
Angie.
All right. Bye, guys. Happy New Year. See you in
Bye.
2025.
Bye, Angie.
Bye.
Thank you. So, yeah, that's it for us, Ted. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this up there too. We are off tomorrow on New Year's Day. Reminder, everybody, we're taking one day off. We will be back on Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. So there's still time for you for Friday to submit any questions, advice, whatever.
TMI, sorry, I always mess this up. TMI Show question at yahoo.com. TMI Show question at yahoo.com.
Right there on your screen, show question 1, because we're not asking you to send 20 questions. We're not playing that game. We're playing.
Well, you can send 20 questions. We just won't answer 20 questions.
It's just one question.
Yeah.
One question.
Send all the questions you want, but we'll only answer the one that we want.
One question per. We would love it if you would send a video like or an audio like Vintage Lefty did, an audio, sending a nice 1-minute recorded audio, send it to us, and then we'll play it on the show. Any question, send it. You can be part of the show. That'd be nice and fun. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us, guys. Happy New Year. I don't know if I can. Are you sure I can play Auld Lang Syne?
Well, who performed it?
I don't know.
Well, that's the key question. I mean, if it's a copyrighted recording, then you cannot play it. If it is a
probably not that one.
That's
a blurb.
I think if you had a recording that was, pre 1924 or something like that.
1929,
you'd be okay, but it would be all crackly and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like those sounds. Oh, and by the way, our buddy Adrian in the chat answered for us. In Europe, at least in the English-speaking countries, they do play Auld Lang Syne.
Really? All right.
That's just like I assumed. I mean, it's a Scottish thing. So so in the English-speaking countries, they do play that song. So there you go. Thank you for letting us know, Adrian. Thank you. So Happy New Year, everybody. We will see you on Thursday, January 2nd, in the new year. This is where shit gets wild. So buckle up. Make sure you subscribe. Help us get to that magic number on YouTube. We need to get to 500 subs. And of course, our friends in the Rumble chat. Thank you so much for keeping things spicy.
And in the YouTube chat, which is rocking it today.
Yeah, I noticed they're getting spicy in there too today. So I like that. I like it. So if you are in the position to become a paid subscriber, we would appreciate any help we can get until we can, really grow this as like an actual channel where we don't even need, where it's not like we need viewer contributions, where we can just live off of like the commercials, right?
Hey, we're not. By the way, I'm pretty sure I checked into this. On the Rumble thing, it's not necessarily just $5 a month. You can pay $5 a month, but you can pay more or less if you'd like.
Oh, wow.
You can choose your level of support. So, Elon,
I didn't know that.
I know you can afford, because we know from your ranking. Elon, we know you're a regular listener. So please contribute just $1 million a month, which is all we're asking.
Totally, like not even
no big deal. You won't even notice it. It's totally... We're just going to lie and say that it's tax deductible. I mean, it's not really, but if it were,
if we create a 501c3, Ted,
but you'll be friends with the president, so you won't get audited, so it'll be fine.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you back here on Thursday. Any big plans tonight, Ted?
Nope.
Me neither. I'm going to be asleep before midnight. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No
So
doubt.
you're right there by Times Square.
All
Like,
the
you
more
can
reason.
literally be there.
All the more reason. It's amateur night.
Yeah, totally. All right, guys. Happy New
right.
Year, everybody. God bless. Just welcome the new year and let's start fresh. Hopefully, I can usher in some health.
Yes. Good luck with that. All right. Happy New
Yeah.
Year, everyone. Happy New Year, Manila. See you 2025.
Happy New Year, Ted.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.